بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. So we recited up to ayah number 40 of Surat AlAhzab, and I hope if you're keeping track or you're keeping up with the way the surah is moving, you're making some sense of what the theme and the purpose of Surat AlAhzab is. It's a very unique one, has a very unique theme, and it's different in my assessment of the surahs of the Quran. It's very different. I don't know any other surah that's similar to it, even though you may feel if you're reading other Madani surahs that there's similarities in the rhythm, but in the meaning it's almost fully unique in the sense that the stories that you find in Surat Al-Ahzab aren't repeated anywhere. The story of the battle of Al-Ahzab itself, Al-Khandaq, is there and only there. The story regarding the Prophet ﷺ's wives is here and only here. And the story of Zayd radiallahu anhu and Zainab radiallahu anha, and the fact that they divorced and the Prophet ﷺ married Zainab, only exists in this surah. Now the common theme of the surah and the cluster of surah starting with Ahzab, ending with Zumar, is obedience, ta'ah, and ubudiyya, and istislam, and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it looks at that concept from a number of different angles, starting with Surat Al-Ahzab, the longest of the surahs, and the most important angle of all, which is submitting to Allah and obeying Him when things are difficult, when it's awkward to do it, when it's uncomfortable to do it, specifically when you're told to do something that you find hard to say yes to. And that is explained in the central ayah of the surah, ayah number 36. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. There's never been permissible for a believer, either whether a man or woman, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a decree or a command, for them to have choice. I mean, they would, if you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're a mu'min, then the moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the command, you accept. You follow in, you follow through. You don't. It's not a matter of choice. It's not whether you like it or not, you enjoy it or not. And that is the central ayah of the student. Falls somewhere in the middle, and it talks about all these different examples of where, when submitting to Allah's rule and following His command, it's extremely hard. Sometimes it's not hard. Sometimes following the ruling of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is quite convenient. It's easy. It's helpful. You appreciate it directly and immediately. And sometimes you can only appreciate it well down the road, meaning 10, 20 years maybe down there. Maybe you don't really appreciate it until you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yawm al-qiyamah and you look at your mizan. That's the only time you actually appreciate it. That could be the scenario. The example in Surat Al-Ahzab, the example is given, the battle of the Confederates, or the battle of Al-Khandaq or Al-Ahzab, 10,000 people coming over to literally annihilate Medina. They had to stand and they had to first of all dig a trench, defend it, and then hope that they weren't going to be completely killed. It was the time that the Muslims as a group were at their highest level of fear. They feared for their lives. So, and the Quran with 3.5 pages just gave us the psychological analysis and just showed us what was happening and how some responded properly and many did not. Second story talked about the Prophet ﷺ's wives. Again, we're invading his privacy ﷺ here. The rest of the surah, by the way, is just an invasion of his privacy ﷺ. Al-Ahzab is more of a general one, but everything else is going into his home. Talking about uncomfortable and difficult things happening in his house ﷺ. And that's why today's ayat are going to be different than everything else, just because of that point. So talking about his wives not being very happy with the financial status that they were living in, because ﷺ refused to bring back any of the goods that would come from war or from anything. He refused to bring it into his home. He got rid of it on the spot. He gave it away for the sake of Allah immediately, and that's how he lived his life. And he told his wives it wasn't going to get any better. And the ayat came and addressed that and addressed certain issues regarding women in the deen, which is another awkward and difficult issue within Islam. Just addressing that in the deen is difficult. And then the third chapter talked about literally the most uncomfortable situation of his life sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is when he was told he asked to marry Zainab. He was going to marry Zainab, who was the divorcee of Zayd, who was his adopted son. And of course we talked about that in detail last time, and how the whole point of the surah is مَا كَانَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ مِنْ حَرَجٍ فِيمَا فَرَضَ اللَّهُ لَهُ. There is no haraj upon the Prophet ﷺ regarding what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to do. He does it. There's no reason for him to feel discomfort, distress, embarrassment or shame. When you're told to, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a command, you do it. Do not feel ashamed of it. Don't allow distress to be the main aspect of following His command Jalla Jalaluhu. Rather find find your salvation in what he tells you to do, subhanAllah, and you'll be much happier and you'll find things. And the Prophet ﷺ, for a moment within this story, he was وَتَخْشَى النَّاسَ وَاللَّهُ أَحَقُّ أَن تَخْشَاهُ وَتُخْفِي فِي نَفْسِكَ مَا اللَّهُ مُبْدِيهِ. He hid inside himself what he knew was going to happen, and he feared the backlash for the sake of Islam, not for his own. The reason was noble, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but still he feared the backlash of people, and he should have revered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called it out in the Quran, and there was a lesson for him, a lesson for us. Most importantly, there was a lesson for us in it. Now the ayat after this that we're going to read today are somewhere in the middle between two stories about his personal life and then another two stories about his personal life. So there are 4 stories in Surat AlAhzab that are addressing his personal issues, things in his home, his wives, his marriages, his issues that are, you don't want this to be public knowledge. What happens in your home between you and your wife and your children is not something you want everyone knowing about or talking about. You choose those who you can find in very, very carefully, and if they end up telling someone something, that's going to definitely bother you. So the Prophet ﷺ is going to his public life is being put on display, basically. Think parts of it that are extremely uncomfortable. Certain parts of his public life are on display in other parts of the Quran, but they're not uncomfortable. They're stories that are beneficial, they're beautiful, but these ones here, they're not as much. They're difficult to kind of listen to. And like Aisha said, had he ever withheld any part of the Quran, he would have withheld the ayat from 37 to 40. We wouldn't have told those ones if he was going to withhold anything back. But he didn't. He read it the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent it to him. So in the midst of these personal, uncomfortable stories about his life, there's a couple of verses that talk about his status. Just in case you're reading and you misunderstand what's being said, whether from the person who is doing the interpretation or you're reading it by yourself. And then you may think that the Prophet ﷺ is being criticized, or is being called out on mistakes, or is being, no. Just so it's clear, his status is 1, 2, 3. These stories are just for you to learn, just for you and I to kind of gain depth, to remind ourselves of his humanity, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then see how to actually follow him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in every aspect of who he was. So these ayat are somewhere in the middle, right in the middle between these 4 stories, like after the second, before the third, just remind us of who he was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and what his status is. And I love these ayat, and they're very moving. People memorize these ayat, read them, the salawat all the time, but they don't understand why. And why are they in Surat AlAhzab? What's the point? Because they have to be. And you'll find this in the Quran quite a bit. What I mean? You'll find in the Quran in more than one spot, place when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Prophet ﷺ making a mistake, if I may. And again, not usually, but the Prophet ﷺ's mistakes aren't considered as sins in the terms of what we call sins. It's usually just khilaf al-awla, doing something where there was something that should be prioritized more. Like there was probably a better choice at this moment, but he wasn't committing a sin in the sense of what you and I commit on a daily basis. No, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sins are different, on a different standard and different level of judgment. So whenever that happens, you find the Quran immediately talks about the status of the Prophet ﷺ. And the most beautiful ayah that talk about his status are usually following an ayah where he's being saying Afallahu anka or Abasa wa something like that, either in the same surah or in the surah after. Here is the same thing. 2 stories in a row that talked about something happening in his home, ﷺ, that he may not have wanted or enjoyed sharing this with people. When he had a disagreement with his wives and went and sat in the attic alone and wouldn't enter his house for a month. This is something that you don't want people talking about this. Nonetheless, reading it in the Quran until Yawm al-Qiyamah. The moment it's in the Quran, everyone's going to read this forever, basically. Every single Ramadan, we're going to read these ayat. We sit in the Halaqah and talk about them. But sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his life was there for us to learn from. Every part of it, every aspect of it. So sometimes if the situations are awkward or difficult, or there are some discrepancies in it, there's ayat that come immediately to remind us of the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we can enjoy these ayat right now. So these are the least uncomfortable ayat in the whole surah. I mean, since we've started, every time I sit here, I tell the stories and I see people's faces just scrunch up, like no one's comfortable about listening to this. Yeah, and even the head count of the halaqah has decreased since we started Surat AlAhzab. Like, just talking about the topics are a bit difficult because they're stories either you haven't heard before or you don't really necessarily enjoy hearing because you're not sure how to deal with them in terms of what you're listening to. But these are the easiest. These ayat, there's nothing just uncomfortable with these ayat because they're just telling us, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, it's telling you who he is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what to do in order for you to be like him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to be at that level, in order for you not to fall into the same problem he faced for that moment where he had haraj, where he felt distress and discomfort towards what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed for him, towards what was destined regarding marrying Zainab. He felt it wasn't a comfortable feeling. He felt distress for a moment. He didn't like it. He wished it wasn't going to happen, but he knew it was going to happen anyway, but it wasn't necessarily something he looked forward to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, no, there is no haraj. And then immediately ayat that give us something. How do you and I also prevent or avoid finding haraj in the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is an important part of understanding Surat AlAhzab. I almost think that these ayat are the most important that exist in the surah for us because it gives us a few ideas. Tells us something, and you'll see that it's one ayah with one command that'll make a whole lot of sense, inshallah. So we start with ayah number 41. Forgive me, my voice is a bit ruined, but we'll manage, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلام وأعد لهم أجرا كريما O those who believe, اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. One of the most important commands that probably exists in the Quran, and it's perfectly placed in the midst of a surah that is telling stories that aren't repeated anywhere else in the Quran, that are at the highest level of difficulty and lack of comfortability in terms of listening to them. Stories that are controversial, issues that are difficult to understand, that people struggle with, that they don't find, they're not enjoyable, not something that you listen to. Sometimes I'll tell you a story in the Quran and it's just you love listening to it, you want to listen to it again and again. Another story you listen to and you find it's heavy, it's a heavy topic, it's weighing on you, you're struggling with understanding it, you're struggling with dealing with it. You learn from it, but it's not the easiest thing to learn. Again, when we're learning as people, sometimes we enjoy the topics we're learning and sometimes we don't. And sometimes it's fun, and sometimes, many times it's not a fun thing to learn. That's life for you. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the midst of this surah, He gives a command, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. And the command goes, اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. The concept of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to take a few moments and talk about it before we move on, because you're probably wondering, well, what does this have to do with anything? What does the concept of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to do with any of the topics or the aspects that you brought up and talked about in the surah, in terms of following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's word when you're extremely scared and you feel like you want to be a coward, but you're required to be brave. like the story of Al-Ahzab. How do you follow the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you're destined to live a life of poverty, like the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when you just don't have money and you don't have enough for what you want, and you're not enjoying life from a financial or social perspective? What do you do when you're told to do Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You're told you're given a command by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do something that is socially extremely awkward and just not fulfilling, and not something you don't want people to know about. Like, you're doing it, but you don't enjoy doing it. You don't want people seeing you do it. For example, any public act of Islam in a public setting, whether you're working or you're a student or wherever you are, you don't want people seeing you pray. So you look for the area where it's less likely or the least likely for people to see you praying, and then you do it. And it's one of those mashallah, record-breaking prayers. And then you go back. Why? Because you don't want people seeing you do it. Well, why? It's a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you're just not very open to it. You feel very awkward that you have to do it. You don't enjoy doing it. And you're saying the idea here is not something that is fun. So what do we do when the issue is bravery? In a position to being a coward, or the issue is accepting a lower economical status when you want money, or the issue is following the command that is just socially awkward when you just don't want to do it. How do you get over these things? I mean, can you imagine situations where this is of course, I'm pretty sure right now if you thought of it, you can think of a lot of circumstances where you are feeling this level of discomfort and distress because of an aspect that is attached to one of the three stories that we've listened to so far. Just the three that we've listened to so far. There's more to come. The surah is not done yet with the uncomfortable situations. So what do we do? So he says subhanahu wa ta'ala, اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we use the word اذكر as remember, if we're gonna translate it as remember, then we'll say much remember, yes, or remember him a lot. And if we use udhkur as remind yourself of him, right, then remind yourself of him many times. Dhikran kathira, do this these reminders and remember him a number of times. That is many, kathira. And nowhere in the Quran do you have a command of dhikr that does not have the concept of kathra somewhere in it. Whenever he talks about dhikr, he will talk about kathra. He will talk about a high number or a high quantity of it. Do it a lot. Now, sometimes we understand, there's two ways to understand this, by the way. There's one way that is the more traditional, conventional way of understanding this, whereas you just pick up as a masbaha and you count a number of dhikr. You have like a wird where you do 300, 500, 1,000. I know people who do up to 20,000 a day, and some of my shuyukh did it up even to 30. They would do a huge number of tasbihat that is very hard to work up to. It takes years and years for you to achieve that level of discipline and structure to actually do it. But also another way of looking at it is the concept of reminding yourself of God throughout your day and throughout your life. Because it's very easy as you move through go through the motions of your routine, not to think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of your decisions, in terms of your reactions, and your emotions, and the way you speak, and the way you use your body language, and how you deal with other people, and even with your eyesight, with the usage of every sense that you have. It's easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to be the first one you consult when you do it. You can just work on instincts, or just on whatever norms or habits that you've picked up throughout your life. Right? You grow up based on whatever habits your dad let you pick up throughout your life. The concept of dhikr is an equation-changing concept that was introduced in Islam. He's telling you, remind yourself of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala often, many times. Every time you have the chance, remind yourself of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it gives you the ability to think for a moment and to revise what happened in the last maybe 2 to 3 hours, which is the concept of salah, which is the whole point of having salah. When Musa alayhi salam talked about prayer, or he was spoken to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about prayer, what did he say? وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي صح? وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي, and perform your prayers, perfect the performance of your prayer, لِذِكْرِي, with the purpose of remembering me. So dhikr is literally the purpose of salah. It is the maqsad, it is the illah. It is the reasoning behind why we do prayers to begin with. This is a very, very crucial point. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a reasoning, He gives you a rationale behind why you have to do something, that rationale becomes the untouchable aspect of the action itself. In Islam, there are 3 words you have to learn. If you end up going into fiqh or usul al-fiqh, you'll learn 3 words. You'll learn illah, hukum, and hikmah. And I say this a lot, and it's important that you learn these 3 words and just keep them in your mind. Hukum is a ruling. Now a ruling has a hikmah to it. A hikmah means a benefit, what you benefit from this ruling. What are the benefits of doing something? But before, so it goes like this. It goes illah, hukum, hikmah. This is the sequence. It's actually a sequence. It goes one way. So one-way road, doesn't go backwards. It starts with the reasoning, a rationale, the logic behind it. This logic produces a ruling, a hukum, and this hukum has benefits. Now, if you take away the reasoning, you take away everything after it. You take away the ruling, take away the benefits of it. If you take away the benefits, then what happens? Nothing happens. Because it's one way. I mean, it doesn't go the opposite way. You hold on to the reasoning, hold on to the ruling. I'm going to give you an example. What is the reasoning behind khanzir being haram, eating pork being haram? What is the reasoning behind it? That's a benefit. I'm help you guys with the end. That's a benefit. So you don't get that. That's a benefit. What else? What's the reasoning behind it? Allah. That's it. We have no reasoning. He commanded it 5-6 times. He gave no reasoning for it. So the reasoning isn't there, which means this ruling is forever. It'll never change. Nothing will change this ruling. Doesn't matter what diet the pig is on. If pigs come together and they insist that Muslims eat them and they start fixing their diet and working out and changing, doesn't make a difference. If it's pork, we don't eat it. Doesn't make a difference because the reasoning has been sealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we're left with is the hukum and the benefits. So yes, all those are benefits and it's totally agreeable, but they're not a reasoning behind it. Now, what is the reasoning behind, for example, a lady going with a mahram somewhere? What's the reasoning behind that? Safety. The reasoning is safety. The reasoning behind all these different rulings regarding women is keeping them safe at times of when it's not safe. So you can understand what I'm saying. So at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, for a lady to move from a city to another city on her own was insane. She was definitely going to be abducted. It was almost a 99% chance. If she makes it, it'll be a story for her to tell till the end of time. You cannot move without being abducted. It's impossible. So a mahram, the concept of a mahram was very important for protection. Right? So the reasoning was there. The ruling was she has to go with a mahram. The benefit is she's not getting abducted. We have less women being enslaved, less rape, less murder, less. These are all benefits that you have. Now, today, for example, people who don't understand reasoning, rulings, and benefits or hikmah or wisdom behind things, they hold on to the ruling and they fight for it. They fight for the ruling even though the reasoning isn't there anymore. Even the reasoning has been taken away. The reasoning of her being safe from going between London to Kitchener or London to Toronto, anywhere within either Northern America or Europe, doesn't exist anymore. She's not at risk, meaning those movements you take away that reasoning, so he doesn't need a mahram to do these things. But if she's going to go to Syria or Afghanistan or Somalia or a war-torn area, then that ruling is brought in because the reasoning is still there. Understanding the idea here? The same thing goes, for example, khamr. When it comes to khamr, what's the reasoning behind khamr? Recreational intoxication. What's haram is recreational intoxication. That is the reasoning. So everything that is recreationally intoxicating is haram. One of the rulings is going to be haram for khamr, and the benefit is 1, 2, 3, 4, many, many benefits. But because of that reasoning, not only is khamr haram, but we can say pot and weed and coke and whatever. Just keep on going, all types of drugs and but at the same time, when you're in pain and you go to the OR, what do you think they're doing to you? When she tells you, Yalla, count backwards, 10, 9, what are you doing? And you fall. It's intoxication. You're being loaded from every, within your arteries, your veins, and you're breathing it in. You're being put to sleep through intoxication. But it's not recreational intoxication. This is medical intoxication. That's why it's not haram for you to go through into the OR and enjoy the wonders of analgesics and anesthesia and wake up and people take pictures of videos of you talking whatever you're saying. But because it's not recreational, it's not a problem. So the reasonings and rulings and benefits are extremely important. Why I'm saying all this? What I'm trying to explain to you is dhikr is the reasoning behind a number of acts of worship that exist in the deen. Not one or two, a number of acts of worship. Number one being salah. Salah is a ruling. The fardiyya of salah, the fact that salah is obligatory, that's a ruling. The benefits are many. The reasoning is dhikr. Are you understanding what I'm saying? The reasoning is dhikr. That's the reasoning he put, subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why, and this is how I want it to be done. You can say, well, I can remember you anyway. No, I know you can remember any way you want, but this is how I want it, and this is the reasoning behind it. And that reasoning will never die, because the biggest opportunity that we have, the biggest blessing that we're given in life is the ability to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to live for a few moments a day, between standing in front of Him, amongst His, experiencing His grace and speaking to Him Jalla Jalaluhu. That is the best you can hope for as a human being. Within the 24 hours that you live, you have 10-15 minutes of it. Well, totally enjoy it. But the concept, the reasoning is dhikr. I understand. I'm trying to make sure that dhikr is understood in terms of what it is, from an Islamic perspective. It is the reasoning behind many acts of worship. Salah being, of course, the staggering number one, because it's such a fundamental part of being a Muslim. I'm going to share with you a hadith. Abdullah bin Busr radiallahu anhu قال أتيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فقلت, came to the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, I said, Ya Rasulullah, كثرت علي شرائع الدين أو شرائع الإسلام. I feel like there's too much in Islam for me to carry. There's too many things, too many commands and rulings and reasonings and benefits, and I am getting totally confused with all this stuff. He's a simple man. فَمُرْنِي بِشَيْءٍ أَتَشَبَّثْ بِهِ. Give me a command that I can hold on to, something I can just hold on to. Like if I mess up everything else, at least I did that, and that should get me through. Is there something like that, Ya Rasulullah? So he answered him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَقال لا يزال لسانك رطبا بذكر الله. May your tongue forever be moist with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a figure of speech. Meaning if the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was liquid, then keep your tongue moist. Meaning just never ever go through, just never let more than an hour go by without moisturizing your tongue again with the liquid or the of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or else you'll dry up, and you'll literally, I know it's a figure of speech, but it's a very deep one, because you will literally dry up as a human being. The farther you are away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more dried up you'll feel inside, and you know it. And you know that dryness is it's almost a perfect analogy, because that's exactly what you feel. If you're away from the masjid for like a month or 2 or 3, for whatever reason, and you just, at a moment you'll stop and you say, I feel so, there's something missing, like I'm not happy, I don't know what it is. I was happier like last year. I don't know what it was about last year, but you know what it was about last year. Last year, whatever, you had more, you came more often. Then you look forward towards Ramadan, and then you get busy on Ramadan, and that ruins your whole year. And you're waiting for the next year, hopefully next year, inshallah, and you just keep on drying up to the point where your certain soil, if it dries up for too long, water doesn't do anything for it anymore. So, right? Like sand, go to the beach, and it's never going to produce anything. It's been too long. Some soil can dry up to the point where it'll never be able to produce any khair ever again, no matter what. So be very, very scared of that. What does that have to do with finding haraj? In Surat AlAhzab, talking about haraj. I mean, you feeling distress or discomfort towards a command that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. How does dhikr help? Oh, dhikr is what makes the big difference in it all. If you are, I'll give on 2 levels. First, if you are always remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at every single decision, meaning you are programming yourself, that before you do anything, you say anything, you act in any way, you make a call or a decision, or a choice, you wonder or you go back and say, what would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want me to do right now? What are the guidelines that I have, that I know of at least, tell me in terms of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure or anger? Would this anger him? Would this please him? What would it do? So if this is what you're doing all the time, you are desensitizing yourself towards the stress or the discomfort that comes from his commands, because that's what you go to all the time anyway. It's not alien to you. His command subhanahu wa ta'ala is not something that you're living without, and then someone comes and tells you, oh, by the way, that's haram, and now you freak out because you're not used to the concept of haram. You don't think about it very often. The idea of halal doesn't really matter. You're just you're given a few rulings by your parents, maybe don't drink, don't commit zina, maybe 2-3 things, and you don't do them because you can't do them. But the concept of what he wants and what he doesn't want, what he commanded, what he did not command, what he denied you or deprived you of, and what, it's not something that you're living with. And since you're not something that you're living with, then you don't really enjoy it, and you're not used to it, and it's an alien concept, and when it's presented to you, you struggle with it, and you feel the discomfort. When I get questions about any aspect of the deen, literally any aspect of the deen, I'll give an example that is maybe relevant. Now when it comes to money, when it comes to issues of money, the questions are always going to be about something to do with riba, like something, somehow, and it depends on the person and to what extent they are already within it. Like they're already way deep down inside, taking loans and giving loans. And they come and I tell them, wallahi, riba is haram. Signing a contract that has riba in it is, signing the contract that has a clause of riba is haram, with a few exceptions that are, that exist because of the fact that we live here, like a credit card, a student loan, maybe a mortgage specifically. If you don't have with the condition that the scholars put, a few places, anything else is problematic. You shouldn't be signing this. They're very discomforted. Haraj. You can see the haraj. You can see the haraj in the eyes and in what this, because this is not what they were hoping for. They don't like it. Why? Because they're not used to before they actually initiate a transaction, or before to ask whether this is halal and haram. They're not used to it. They don't remember Him subhanahu wa ta'ala before they do this every time. But if you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before every single time that you attempt to do anything, then this wouldn't be a problem to you, because you wouldn't have made the first, second, third, fifth, 10th mistake, and then come ask about the 11th and feel the discomfort of the answer that, oh Allah, you can't do it. Correct? If you are used to having inappropriate relationships with the opposite gender for a number of years, and you come and ask, well, what are the rulings about this? And I explain them to you, and you're not happy. You don't like me anymore. I'm not the person to go to. So you look for another sheikh that maybe can give you a better fatwa, because this guy is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's saying, why? It's not because I'm saying something wrong. No, it's because you did not remember Allah throughout the last 10 years. And now you're coming to ask me, and of course it's going to cause you discomfort. Of course it's going to be haraj. Of course you didn't remember Him for a long time. Now you're too deep in. To pull out, it's going to take you so long. And just etc. Just keep on going. It works well on every level. If you are struggling with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not because the command doesn't make sense. It's because you are already invested in the opposite direction for too long. And it's so much haraj now to get out. It's too much haraj. It's too discomfort. There's not enough comfort in it. It makes you feel bad. So what do we do? Do we still do we stick with the command? Do we look for a fatwa that suits us? What do we do? You go back to ayah number 36. Just always go back. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. There is no choice for a mu'min or a mu'minah. If Allah decrees, it gives a command for them to choose what they want. They can't. You can't. You accept what He gives subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like it. That's one of the main themes of understanding Surat AlAhzab, that you don't necessarily have to enjoy it, but there should be no haraj for you in following His command subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do we do it? اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. Try it. Try it on both levels. When you do dhikr, that's one way, right? If you remind yourself of before every action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wonder if He's okay with it or not, then you will have no distress and no haraj in His commands. Another way, another level, if you are someone who does tasbih halat, like the second, وَسَبِّحُوهُ, and glorify His and exalt Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, exalt His status, bukratan wa asila, in the mornings and in the evenings. Al-bukra is in the morning, asila is in the evening. If you do that a lot, if every day you are subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim, subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah al-azim, and you're doing it yani, quietly 200, 300 times, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la ilaha illallah, you're making tasbih, you're doing these things for, you'll find that slowly, slowly your heart becomes more and more attached to the name of your Lord. And the more your heart is attached to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you are looking. There's barakah that's given. The Prophet when he gave this advice to Abdullah bin Busr, he wasn't giving him this advice to quiet him. He was telling him literally the key. It's the reasoning behind all the acts of worship. I'm giving you the key. Do dhikr all the time. Before the era we live in, every Muslim had two things in his day. And this is prophetic, by the way. This is what he has, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm not making this up. This is actually what he has, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He had two things. He had a hizb and he had a wird. And every Muslim throughout history has always had these two things. And I don't know a Muslim who's successful in Islam that doesn't. At least in the long run, yani. A hizb is a portion of the Quran that you read daily. It could be an ayah, it could be a juz', it could be 10 juz', whatever you want it to be. But it's a hizb. It's a portion of the Quran that you read every day. And the Prophet ﷺ would say, "Man nama minkum an hizbihi falyaqra'hu qabla adh-dhuhr." If you sleep one night and you're tired and you end up sleeping before your hizb, when you wake up the next morning, make it up for it in the morning. And then continue your day. Don't miss it. Like even, he would tell Sahaba to make up for it. If they had a hizb, make up for it. And that's a hizb. A wird is a certain portion of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of dhikr and tasbih and istighfar and tahleel and hawqala and hasbala. It's a certain portion. You can start with the smallest amount. Start with 300. I'll give you a system to work on. Here, take this for a few months and then we'll talk about it again inshallah 3 months from now. Take a simple system. In the morning, when you wake up, read Surat Al-Fatiha and read Ayat Al-Kursi. These are ayat that are, and read Mu'awwidat, which are the ayat that we are taught in many cases that there's a lot of barakah in them. And then do istighfar 100 times. And then do salah ala Rasulillah 100 times. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In any form that you want to do it, like you can do it like the salawat Ibrahimiyya that you do in prayer, or in any form that you find that you enjoy saying it, just say it however you enjoy it, yani. And then say la ilaha illallah 100. And those are 300 times. Do that in the morning once, and then do it once before you go to bed. And just stick to that for a couple of months. And in 3 months, if you stick to it, we'll talk again. We'll talk again. You will find a difference in the state of your heart. You will find a difference in the level of your spirituality, and you will find this closeness and this just inherited acceptance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command that will make very much sense why this ayah is here. Like if you're wondering why, if I still haven't been able to convince you of why this ayah is so perfectly placed in the middle of this surah, then when you do it, it will make sense to you. Because it brings with it, with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it brings with it this acceptance of what He has and what He says and what He commands, Jalla Jalaluhu. Because you have drawn yourself closer to Him. And when you're closer to His vicinity, Jalla Jalaluhu, more of His commands make sense to you. If you're standing far away, then you may not be understanding why. People here, they don't understand. Say that interest is haram to a Westerner. They'll look at you like what are you saying? What's wrong with your brain? Like it's not even a topic. They're not even a thing. Like the concept of riba is not even something for them worthy of discussion. Why? Because they're so far from Allah. So His commands don't make much sense to them. Draw yourself closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will see a difference in the way that you view His commands. If you are someone that there are certain things in the Quran or certain commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when you listen to, you can't make sense of it, or it bothers you, or it gives you some level of distress, or you have a lot of questions on it, and you get an answer and you don't like the answer, and you're still struggling with this one command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, it could be anything, to be honest, but it could be anything at all. And it could go from something simple as just making wudu, to something huge as why is zina haram. It could be an issue of hijab, or an issue of interest, and it could be anything, wallah, it could be anything at all. And just something that you struggle with, you don't like, you don't enjoy specifically. Try dhikr, try these 300, morning, 300 in the evening. 3-4 months, see the difference. I'm very practical in what I talk about. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does barakah in when you draw yourself close to Him. And certain things you have to try. Bring yourself closer. Remember Him. Dhikran kathira, do it a lot. 600 a day is not bad. It's not a lot, to be honest. You could easily do way more than that. Yani 600 actually to certain people is a joke. Yani that's them kind of getting, yani just they do that when they're probably during their meals or something. And that's it's not even a number. Try that and you'll see even something small like that. That is daily. That is, you're drawing yourself closer to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, will improve your prayers, will improve your level of stability, and psychological stability, and your spirituality, and your calmness, and the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will seem much easier for you to accept. And this is why these ayat are positioned so strategically right there. There's nowhere else in the Quran where it's that explicit, like the command of dhikr is that clear. There are other commands in the Quran everywhere, but nothing like this, where it's just the only reason the ayah is اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا سبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. Done. Just do that. Just do that. Do that and see how this problem will fade away. Just do it. Do it and see how. And then we don't. And then we don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I talk about both types of remembrance. I'm not talking about just one. I don't believe there's much of benefit. Have you taken no, that's not how you do it. That doesn't do anything. You need to know what you're saying. Meaning you have to make sure that you calm down, you listen to yourself and what you're saying, slowly bringing your heart and your mind into what you are saying, and then practicing that during your life. Meaning before you make a mistake, or before you make a choice, or you have a decision to make, you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's the point if I'm doing subhanallah, 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 and then I go and I do everything that is wrong, and I harm and I lie and I hit and I harm and I take? Why? Then where's Allah in your life? Why is He only and He's not? What is this hypocrisy or this schizophrenic effect of your faith? It should be something. It's parallel. You remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your life a lot, and then you do something specific between you and Him that's very spiritual, that is very khas, that's very specific, and it's private. There has to be something private between you and Him. Make sure there's something private, my God. Make sure there's something private no one knows about. No one knows about. No one can pull out of you. If they kept on asking you what do you do? Never say it. Never say it. Die and don't say it. Never say it. Have something that only you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala know about. These are things that some of the scholars had shared with us. يقول اجعل بينك وبين الله سرا لا يعرفه أحد من خلقه. Make sure that between you and Allah is a secret that no one of His creations know of. None of His creations know. No one. Just something very simple. It could be 2 rak'ah, it could be a few tasbihat, it could be anything. Deny it if you're asked about it. Hide it from your wife, from your children. No one knows but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because that is how you get ikhlas. Because that's how you make sure there's sincerity. That's how you bring yourself close to Him. I would advise, make it dhikr. Because dhikr is something that is it's easy to hide. No one has to know. I remember one of our shuyukh, he would ask him, we would tease him because we know he would never answer. Ya Shaykh, how many times do you make salah ala nabi? Now there's a hadith in Tirmidhi that one of the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, kam aj'alu laka min salati? How many times, how much should I, when I do tasbih and dhikr, how much should I say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa sahbi Muhammad ajma'in? How many times? فقال ما شئت, whatever you like. فقال أجعل لك ثلثها, how about a third? فقال خير وإن زدت فخير, and if you do more then that's good too. فقال أجعل لك شطره, how about I do half of my half tasbihat and half asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His blessings upon you. فقال good, وإن زدت فخير, if you do more فخير. فقال أجعل لك ثلثي, how about 2/3? قال خير وإن زدت فخير, if you do more it's also خير. فقال أجعل لك صلاتي كلها, قال إذن يغفر ذنبك وتكفى همك, and if you do that then your sin will be forgiven and your hum will go away from you and you will find relief. Sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So make salah ala nabi. I always ask him, how many times do you do it? Ya Shaykh, how many times? He would never answer until he would he'd throw us out, he'd send us out of the majlis and come back again. Shaykh, how many times do you do it? He wouldn't share it. نعم سبحان الله. فيا الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. Remember Him and exalt Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and the evening. Do it a lot. Do it as much as you can for as long as you can. And take the ajr of that, and take the benefit and take the barakah of that into your life. And I don't want to say the word I pity, because I think it's condescending. I don't mean it that way. But I empathize with those who don't do it, and then struggle with their prayers, and struggle with the recitation of the Quran, and struggle with the following of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and struggle with the basic acts of worship, and they struggle with their personal problems of rage and anger and depression and just lack of fulfillment and lack of purpose, and do dhikr. It is the reasoning behind all the different acts of worship that we have that are personal. All the acts of worship that are personal between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reasoning behind it is the dhikr. What you're doing is you're remembering Him. You're reminding yourself of Him, that you're talking to Him. You're teaching yourself who He is. When you do dhikr, so there's different types, right? When you look at them, they're quite broad, because sometimes the word dhikr is an umbrella word. Under it, a lot of different topics will fall. Istighfar, for example, which is a form of dhikr, you are acknowledging mistakes, you are promising not to do them again, and you are coming up with a plan for the future to fix yourself. So the word astaghfirullah, when you're thinking about a sin, this is building your future. You're preparing yourself to be a better person. You're improving who you are by doing istighfar, because you're thinking about sins and you're trying to make sure you don't make those sins anymore. You're not just saying astaghfirullah, 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 and then thinking about falafel. No, you're actually thinking about something you did wrong, and how changing that will make you, inshallah, a better person, and make you tasbih, for example. Tasbih is the most unique thing that we do as Muslims. That's why it's in the ayah. That's why Allah specified tasbih out of all the acts, the forms of dhikr within this ayah, because it's so unique to us as Muslims. We exalt Him, Jalla Jalaluhu. Other faiths don't do that. Other faiths, they give Him a wife, or give Him a son, or make Him more human, make Him flesh and blood, or show Him to be someone who is in rage, similar to man, who has a vengeance and has human-like pride and anger and human-like sadness and envy. Shows you God as a being that can be so many at the same time in different places, caring about things that are trivial, and just they show you God confined in time or confined in space, or so they bring down the status of the deity subhanahu wa ta'ala. They bring Him down. We don't do it. As Muslims, we do tasbih. We exalt Him from anything that could be understood, even by the smallest fraction of a possibility, as a naqs, as something that is as an incomplete attribute, no matter what it is. And laysa kamithlihi shay', nothing is like Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing resembles Him in any way. He is the exalted subhanahu wa ta'ala in every aspect. His knowledge is not like our knowledge. The way He hears, not the way we hear, and He sees, not the way we see. And He is capable subhanahu wa ta'ala, not like we are capable. And He is strong, not like we are strong. And He is the greatest, not like how we are great. And He has eyes and He has hands, and not like the way we have eyes, neither like the way we have hands. He is subhanahu wa ta'ala beyond our ability to imagine and fathom. Jalla Jalaluhu tanazzah, tasabbah. The word sabbaha means for you to claim that there is no imperfection. That's what tasbih means. I am claiming that He is not imperfect. That's what you're saying. That's what the concept of tasbih is to begin with. That is something your nafs has to learn. It'll take your nafs a long time to learn this. Your nafs doesn't like that. Doesn't like that there is a being out there that has these attributes, because your nafs seems so trivial and weak and worthless when that's the story. When I tell you that is who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, your nafs inside is hearing that means I'm not worthy as much. I don't like that. Your nafs is very envious. It wants to be the best. It wants to be the strongest. It wants to be the leader. It wants to be the thing that is exalted. Your nafs wants all the praise to come to it. It doesn't want anyone else praised. You tell your nafs that there's a Lord that has these attributes. If you think you're smart, He is smarter. If you think you're strong, He is stronger. If you think you're loved, He is more beloved than you will ever be. Doesn't like it. Doesn't enjoy it. So it tries to play around. Your nafs tries to change the attributes of God. Human beings have always been doing that, trying to make God more like humans. Make Him more like us. Level the playing ground a bit. See if I can put my head ahead maybe a couple of meters. He's too great here. Let's bring Him down a bit. Let's see if we can make Him more like a human, and then we can relate more. That's what the nafs wants to do. As a Muslim, you teach it. Subhanallah. You say Subhanallah. He is no one is like Him. Nothing is like Him. Jalla Jalaluhu is beyond your ability to imagine. If you see an imperfection, ya nafs, it's not from Him. It's from you. It's not from Him. And it's like the problem, because at a certain point in life will throw you a curveball and it will whack you right in the face. Break a few teeth and leave you bleeding. Right in the midst of your, you think life is waiting for you and everything is ready and it's all going uphill, and you fall so, just flat on your face really hard. And then who are you going to blame? Who are you going to blame? You turn to Him, say, why? What are you doing? Subhanallah. If Subhanallah is there, if it's been there long enough, it'll jump out at that moment to save you. And you'll say Subhanallah, Jalla Jalalullah. You want the example? Because I'm trying to connect the surah together, right? Go back to the first story. The first story, the Muslims, they dug the trench, they're done, and then they see 10,000 people coming. What happens? They split. One group says, "Ma wa'adana Allahu wa rasuluhu illa ghurura." Everything the Prophet and Allah and the Prophet told us is a delusion. It's all a lie. We're going to be killed. I need to go back home. I need to protect my family. This is not going to work. Ya Rasulullah, our houses are exposed. Yada yada, and they run. The Muslims see it. What do they say? هذا ما وعدنا الله ورسوله. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us was going to happen. وصدق الله ورسوله. When Allah and His Prophet are the most truthful. وما زادهم. And this whole event only increased them إيمانا وتسليما. It just increased them in their iman and in their submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's all it did. Because the word subhanallah was sitting right there. They saw it, it jumped out. It jumped out and it expressed itself. Or else something else will come out. Or else the nafs and its doubts, and its hatred and its envy, it's all its trivial needs and whims and desires will come out and they'll say something horrible. Like you'll live the rest of your life regretting that you said at that moment. And sometimes can't even make up for it no matter what you do. And you're saying, يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا وَسَبِّحُوهُ بُكْرَةً وَأَصِيلًا. It's always like that, by the way. It's the shortest, the smallest ayahs in the Quran that carry the most meanings. You read pages upon pages of explanations and analysis and you're learning, and then you find the solution in like a word. Like 2 words just sitting together and oh, that's it. That's it. Just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why do we come to Jummah? To do it as a group. That's all. We just come together to say subhanallah together instead of each one saying it alone. Because I'm saying alone, I don't know, maybe I'm never sincere about it. But maybe one of you are. So we come say subhanallah together. You say it with your sincerity. He accepts it, he accepts mine too. Khalas, I'm good. Yeah, the door was open and my tasbih made its way through with yours. Because mine is not making it, I'm not saying it well enough. I don't have the level of sincerity, I don't have the level of closeness, of love that I need to have in order for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to actually look at me and look at what I'm saying. So we look for someone who does, and then we say it with him. Maybe if we say it with him it works out. So we come to Jummah and the Imam says it and then we say it with him, and hopefully one of us has an open heart. And maybe sometimes none of us do. You never know. No, inshallah there is. Inshallah, yeah, ma btikhla. Subhanallah. But that's the idea. Different types of adhkar. Each one does something. Alhamdulillah, the concept of praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, showing gratitude, feeling that you are blessed, seeing the full part of the full side of the cup, full part of the cup, seeing that there's something to be thankful about. There's always something I can use to be better, to move forward, to achieve something. That's important. I'm going to be having that optimism, that practical optimism is needed to live. Or else there's no hope. You can't live a life. So you have to see there's something there. Alhamdulillah. If you're sitting around, there's nothing to say Alhamdulillah about. One of 2 things. Either you are... Actually, there's no one of 2 things. There's no situation where you can't say Alhamdulillah. There's no situation, no matter what I tell you, you're alive, aren't you? Then Alhamdulillah. You could have never been given life. You could have never actually lived. You could have now no consciousness. You wouldn't be a person. You're not someone. You're not an entity. That could have happened, but you are. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah is always something to be. But if you're not thinking about it, that means probably you can't see it. And that's scary because sometimes if you can't see it, it can go. It can be taken away. And you're saying what dhikr does? This is what dhikr does. When you're doing it, you're fixing all these little things in your life. You're improving who you are. You're making yourself a better person. You're connecting yourself with the source of all the goodness that you need. Of course, after you do that long enough, His commands will become easy. His commands will have no haraj anymore. The haraj aspect and element, and will be taken out of His commands subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. So those 2 ayats I took a bit of time to talk about. I think you should revise this part of your life. I really do. I wouldn't say this if I didn't sincerely think that this is a part of your life that if you are not taking care of, I advise you to do so. If the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a central part of who you are and your Islamic practice and how you go through your day, I advise you to change that. I advise you to find within your day 10 to 15 minutes. You could be spread out throughout the day, 5 here, 5 there, where you just sit and you just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will help you do it more oftenly during your day, because that's when it really matters. It matters during the day, as you're going through your day. That's the point. The point is before I say something, I remember. Does he want this, subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. Probably cursing his mother because he shoved his car into my life is not the best idea. Maybe I shouldn't do that at that point. If you can remind yourself at that moment, you walk into the house and the house is a mess, and you're ready to tell your wife something, is this what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want me to say? No, probably not. So if you can do that, you'll become automatically a great individual. People love to be around you because you're never going to do anything wrong, or most likely you won't do things wrong oftenly because you're always thinking about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want and what He wouldn't want because you remember Him a lot. Maybe start that by doing it on the time that you got. When you sit down, udhkurillah, astaghfir 100, salli ala Rasulullah 100, halil rabbak, la ilaha illallah. The most important word of all, the word that summarizes this whole existence, the word that when you say you're hoping that Yawm al-Qiyamah, that word will save you. It's a little piece of it's an ID card you have Yawm al-Qiyamah. You're hoping that you're carrying it around, that la ilaha illallah. Can I yes, you can go, Faddal. La ilaha illallah, I used to all the time, okay, hoping that this is going to save you. Because if it doesn't, nothing will, really. At the end of the day, if La ilaha illallah that you have doesn't save you, nothing will save you. You're going to stand there stranded, really. We're all going to just be with nothing. But La ilaha illallah, it'll save. It'll save. Imagine, I'll narrate the hadith and I'll explain the ayah after. I'm sorry for taking a bit more time than I usually on an ayah. But I think it's something really important. We don't get too many... because the way we read the Quran, we're going through from one surah to the other. Sometimes we don't get a lot of opportunities to talk about certain topics, and this is one that again, to me, where it's positioned in the Quran in the surah is probably one of the most amazing things that we that mashallah everything goes except the adhan itself. So the hadith goes that a man will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they'll start counting for him his actions. And as they go through his sijillat, they go through his documents and his records, he ends up with 99 full records of sayyi'at. Just one stacked on top of the other. And that's all he has. The other part of his scale is literally empty. And he just has stacks of sayyi'at. And this guy's standing there, totally, and he's completely given up. He's totally submissive. He's not objecting, he's not fighting, he's not arguing. Whatever, he knows what he's done and he sees the result and khalas. And they're counting it for him, asking, "Adhalamaka katabati?" Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask him, have my malaika mistreated you? Have they lied about anything? I'm saying, this is an insane amount of sayyi'at, ya abdi. Are you sure that you did all this? Adhalamaka malaikati? Did my record holders lie about this? فقال لا يا رب. He said, no, this is pretty accurate. As far as I can tell, that's almost everything I did. I don't know how they kept track of all of it, but that's it. So he's already looking for the line that stacks up to Jahannam to stand in line. So he's looking to leave. No one has to take me anywhere. I'm going to go by myself. فَيُنَادَى عَلَيْهِ as he leaves. تعال ارجع وجدنا لك شيئا. We still have something for you that hasn't been accounted for in your records. فيعود فيقول وجدنا لك بطاقة. We found I don't know what a bitaqa is, a card or a ticket. I don't know. The word bitaqa is a weird word in Arabic. I'm not sure what it is in English. Basically, it's just a piece of paper maybe this size, just something documented on it. فقال وما تصنع بطاقة. What is a bitaqa going to do on either sides of my scales? I already have 99, just make them 100, no big deal. On the other side, it's just going to be فقال لا يظلم عندنا أحد. No one is mistreated today. Come back. No one is going to be treated unfairly today. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, no one is mistreated unfairly today. If we owe you something, you're going to get it. So they present him with a bitaqa, and on the bitaqa is written La ilaha illallah. Apparently, this guy lived a life of total loss, but at some point in his life, he said this word with a level of conviction and sincerity that rarely people have the opportunity for. So they take the bitaqa and they put it in the other hand of the scale where the hasanat should be but are none. And when it falls in, it plummets the scale so quickly and so vigorously and so forcefully that the other scale goes flying into the sky, and all his records are just sent into the orbit, flying all over the place. And this man is standing there looking at it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, وَلَا يَثْقُلُ مَعَ اسْمِ شَيْءٍ. And there is nothing that outweighs my name. وَلَا يَثْقُلُ مَا اسْمِي شَيْءٍ, and nothing outweighs my name, subhanallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I don't guarantee this happening for you, just to be on the record, just go on the record here, this is being recorded. I'm not saying this is going to happen for you. But what I am saying is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His infinite wisdom, of the certain circumstances of this specific individual, for whatever he had in his life, whatever story that led up to this guy living a life of crime and loss, but all it took was just one moment of truth, one moment of sincere thought and feeling, for him to say a word that was powerful enough to save him on the Day of Judgment. So say La ilaha illallah as much as you possibly can. He would say, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أكثروا من قول لا إله إلا الله, أحيوا القلوب بلا إله إلا الله, bring life back to your hearts by saying La ilaha illallah. Literally his words. Your hearts will die. Say La ilaha illallah as much as you can. No one's saying La ilaha illallah. Even your prompt, don't do things when you're prompt. Like I believe in that very, very strongly. When you're prompted to do something, don't do it. Only do it when you're told to say something of khair, of La ilaha illallah alhamdulillah. Then immediately say it, because it shows a level of, bring down the guard of La ilaha illallah, yallah shu khair inshallah. It's His name subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say it, and hopefully one of us is saying it here sincerely enough, and it makes its way to the heavens, and one day we find that bitaqa, and whatever's going on, we end up saving ourselves.
Can we just talk about the two types of dhikr, the muqayyad and the mutlaq? And if you stick, the one stick only there for the, in the muqayyad dhikr, that will be enough, and we will be considered as from those who remembering Allah a lot.
I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't. But maybe. I believe that whatever the tongue does and the heart does, if it doesn't turn into an action, it doesn't end up doing much. If you can't turn what your tongue and your heart are supposedly feeling and saying into an action that can be observed and recorded, then either the channel is burnt and the cables need to be repaired, or you weren't really doing it right. Now, for the example I gave you, that man has some story. Imagine a person born into a family of criminals, drug abuse, and just total loss. This guy lived a life, he had no chance. He really had no chance in his life, but somehow he found Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at a certain moment of regret and remorse and understanding of his sin, he said La ilaha illallah, and it filled his heart. And he couldn't save himself after it, or it was too late, but it meant something for him. That's why I'm saying I can't guarantee this is happening for you. Actually, one of the biggest problems we have is when we take these types of hadith as soothing pieces of information that you don't have to work that hard, that'll all work out for you because you said it once, because mashallah you've said it a couple of thousand times so far in your life, so you should be good based on this. But that's not the point of these hadith, and that's not يا الذين آمنوا ما قالوا اذكروا الله قال ذكرا كثيرا, do it a lot, سبحوه بكرة وأصيلا, acknowledge his exaltness subhanahu wa ta'ala in the morning and the evening, every day of your life, so that inshallah it'll mean something to you and it'll matter to you. I just want to explain the ayat that we read. هو الذي يصلي عليكم. Why do we do it, Ya Rab? Why are you asking for this? Because you don't understand what's happening on the opposite. What's happening on the other side, when you say La ilaha illallah, you say, what happens immediately? Yusalli alayka Allah. Allah subhanahu, what is salah? You see the connection, immediately the word salah came when dhikr came. It's like they come in a package. But here salah is not from you to him, which is a connection and it's an act of worship. Salah is a word that means different things based on who we're talking about. You talk about Allah, Allah does his salah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of showing mercy to you, in showing love to you, in gracing you, and blessing you subhanahu wa ta'ala. Huwa alladhi yusalli alaykum, he shows, he sends his blessings, he sends his love, he sends his connection to you subhanahu jalla jalaluhu. Wa malaikatuhu, when his malaika do the same. What do the malaika do? The malaika make dua. Read the rest of the Quran. الذين يحملون العرش ومن حوله يسبحون بحمد ربهم ويستغفرون للذين آمنوا ربنا وسعت كل شيء رحمة وعلما فاغفر للذين تابوا واتبعوا سبيلك وقهم عذاب الجحيم. Malaika going around saying, Ya Rabb, forgive those who have believed in you and have followed your way. They do salah for you too. So when I tell you, say La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah, because immediately Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends it to you, and his malaika send it to you. And if you don't value that, then that's a problem. Why aren't you valuing the fact? Because it's not about what you say. What we say means nothing. What he does when he hears what you say means something. It's what you get from him subhanahu wa ta'ala that means something. Our words are just words, just coming out of the mouth. They may not go anywhere, but it is the effect of these words. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears you making that dhikr, hears you making that tasbih, yusalli alayk. Upon you, not upon his Prophet. His Prophet is going to come later in the surah. And he talks about Salah ala Rasulillah specifically. It is about you. هُوَ الَّذِي يُصَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ. Upon you. He sends his blessings and his mercy and his love and his forgiveness and his barakah and his tawfiq and his facilitation and his acceptance upon you. And his malaika do the same. Why? لِيُخْرِجَكُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. And with that he will extract you and take you from darkness to light. He will move you from a state of complete darkness to a state of light. Whether here in this world, ya jama'ah, or later on, Yawm al-Qiyamah, it's the same. It's all good. If you are at any point going to be removed from darkness into light, then be very, very thankful, and that is something worthy of doing dhikr all day and all night, if we can just get a moment of that. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. And indeed he's always been towards the believers rahima, extremely merciful. He's very merciful towards the believer. Just make dhikr as much as you can. تَحِيَّتُهُمْ يَوْمَ يَلْقَوْنَهُ. Their salutations, the day that they meet him subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people who are doing the dhikr, who are doing the tasbih, whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending his blessings upon them, and the malaika are doing the same. The people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely and specifically merciful for, when they meet him, their salutations will be when he meets them, salam, peace. I love that the word peace comes here. Why? What's the opposite of stress? Right? The opposite of anxiety and stress and discomfort is a feeling of peace inside, when you're finally at peace. Yawm al-Qiyamah, you're not in distress, you're not in discomfort, you're not feeling awkward about a command that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you. Is full peace. Salam, you will say to him and you will hear it back. Tahiyyatuhum yawma yalqawnahu salam. This is the basis of the relationship. There is peace from now on. You will find it in your heart. But I don't think you can find it in your heart Yawm al-Qiyamah if you don't find it here in dunya for a while too. I think it's a continuation. It's a continuation. You live a life and then it continues for you on the day of judgment, and continues for you in Jahannam or in Jannah. Nas'Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Jannah. It continues for you. That's all it is. You find the peace here in dunya, you find that peace of dhikr, of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in dunya, and it continues for you. Yani Yawm al-Qiyamah. وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ أَجْرًا كَرِيمًا. And He prepared for them a unique reward. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who follow these ayat, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallah bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.